Welcome to Service Headline News. I'm your host, Marty Smith, and I'm joined by Jake Wall.
What's going on, Marty?
And we're here to bring you the latest headlines and updates pertinent to all servicemen and women. So sit back, get informed, and have a laugh as the Swearing In Podcast presents Service Headline News. For all of you listening who are Eric Perrott fans, he is once again absent doing some field testing for us here at the Service Headline News headquarters. And hopefully he'll be back with the results of his field testing next week. And we'll explain later what he's field testing. So, Jake, how are you, man?
I'm doing good, Marty. Good to hear from you.
Yeah, it's good to hear from you and be back doing the stories that are pertinent. You like that? Pertinent to all servicemen and women?
Pertinent. Yeah.
I wrote that a long time ago, and I just never have changed it.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah, pertinent.
I don't know what Eric's testing, but I have not received any chafing pictures. So
it might be a little more.
Assuming it's going good.
Covert. It's
covert.
Sometimes he goes and tests things that are, still in development. So there's some
up the sleeve or up the pant leg or something like that.
Could be. I've heard he hasn't stepped foot in the bathroom this whole trip. So
Bladder of steel?
Maybe. Doubtful, but maybe.
Or a UTI. Either way, he's having a good time.
20 years ago on the 19th. Does that ring a bell, Jake? March 19th, 2003.
What are you bringing, Eric? You guys, does that ring anything?
It should.
1842 at about 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
I love when he does that. It's like, well, it was either Lincoln's assassination or the first printing press. Which one was it?
I'm leaning towards the release of the Marigold stamp, but I don't know.
The Marigold stamp.
I don't know. Pulling stuff out.
20 years ago on March 19th, 2003, the war in Iraq started with the air campaign. Where were you? Oh, we were on the floor, right?
Yeah. We had practiced for weeks up before that.
Right. And then realized we couldn't see it.
Yeah.
What unfolded next was dozens of airstrikes across Iraq targeting early warning sites and Iraqi leadership, meant to pave the way for the ground invasion that launched on March 20th. The air campaign on the 19th saw the United States and its allies quickly succeed in one goal and fail at its second. Oh, and this story is from taskandpurpose.com. The first goal was the mission to take out many of Iraq's early warning systems to provide cover and confusion for the ground operation that followed. The second mission was to take out Iraq's leadership in a series of decapitation strikes. That sounds badass, doesn't it? That's almost a great name for a punk rock band, isn't it? Decapitation Strike. Hey, I'm going to see Decapitation Strike at the at Fiddler's Green. Many of these figures would end up on the infamous deck of cards. I would give money if I could get one of those deck of cards. You remember those death cards that they had?
That would be kind of a fun thing to get. Yeah,
I'm
that
sure
would
somebody
be
has
a
them, right?
cool thing to get your hands on.
I'm sure somebody's selling them for like $500 on eBay or something like that. The strikes were changed to focus on Hussein himself and his two sons, Uday and Qusay, who were said to be visiting the Al Dura Farms complex at the time. The bunker buster bombs and cruise missiles hit the area and caused casualties, but the Husseins were not present. At the time of the invasion, the Bush administration repeatedly said that the justification to go after Hussein was his possession and development of weapons of mass destruction and his ties to al-Qaeda, both of which turned out to be false in subsequent Pentagon reports. The initial targeted strikes wrapped up on March 21st, followed quickly by a wider air campaign that involved more than 1,500 airstrikes, part of a shock and awe strategy to not only take out Iraqi targets, but discourage Iraqi forces from fighting back. Back in 90, I didn't go to Desert Shield, or Desert Storm, but I talked to some guys who did, and that air campaign was it was like a month, I think. It was super long. And it was so much that even where they were sleeping in like Kuwait and stuff, they could, you could still feel the ground rocking. And after, I remember a buddy of mine said, after a while, he kind of felt bad for the Iraqis because we were bombing so much. It was crazy.
Yeah.
The March 19th air campaign was the opening salvo of the years-long war, which by the time the United States withdrew troops in 2011, killed 4,923 American and Allied troops, more than 30,000 Iraqi fighters, and by conservative estimates, hundreds of thousands of civilians. So that kind of sucks. On March 20th, coalition forces crossed over the Iraqi border, launching a ground offensive. Baghdad fell on April 5th. Bush would give his mission accomplished speech on May 1st, claiming that, quote, major combat operations in Iraq have ended, end quote, although senior Iraqi officials remained unaccounted for and a long and deadly Iraqi insurgency was beginning. Uday and Qusay Hussein would be killed by Special Operations Forces on July 22nd, and Saddam would be captured many months later on December 13th. So
I remember the videos of them pulling him out.
Yeah, and he looked like he looked like an old pizza joint run, operator or something like that. He was all haggard and everything, fat, Yeah, those were wild when they were pulling him out. So,
and some of those reports of what his sons would do
they were just
pretty rough.
Yeah, they were bad dudes. But at the same time, as you look back and you're like, oh, that was what was holding that whole region in check. You know? Even though they were just a horrible regime, but that whole region kind of revolved around that regime. And then you take that out, and I can't remember, was he Sunni or was he Shiite?
I don't know, man.
Whoever he was, the other faction just went apeshit on Iraq.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
Just decimated everything. So, I still remember them pulling that statue down too. Remember the video of them pulling that statue down? So, 20 years ago. That's crazy.
That is cool.
Okay, so Jake, we are jet, airplane, and pilot heavy today, right? 3 stories all about aviation.
I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I know. Right? They're not that exciting.
I do. I'm a space nerd now, but the planes still are what got me into the Air Force. You
can't help it, right?
Yeah, so, even heavies, and I still to this day will look up anytime something loud is flying over.
Oh yeah, right. Today is like good news, then bad news, then good news, as the stories go, right? Or good news, bad news, and then medium news. So this first article came out on March 10th, is by Popular Science. And it's why the U.S. military plans to start making its own jet fuel. Now, that sounds pretty cool. We can make our own jet fuel. That
article is pretty cool.
It is pretty neat, but it's also pretty pie in the sky, as we'll find out. The U.S. military is exploring new ways of producing jet fuel synthetically and on site where it needs to be used. They've just announced a contract for as much as $65 million to Air Company. That's kind of a lame name if you're going to get a $65 million contract. Air Company.
Air Company. Yep.
What should we call it? Air Company. A Brooklyn-based company that has developed a synthetic fuel that doesn't take its starting materials from fossil fuels. So that's good. Maybe. The DoD initiative is called Project SYNCE. Now, the acronym is spelled SYNCE. It's terrible. And the article even says it clunkily stands for Synthetic Fuel for the Contested Environment. Okay. The building blocks of the fuel from Air Company involve hydrogen and carbon, and the process demands energy. Stafford Sheehan, the CTO and co-founder of Air Company, said, "We start with renewable electricity." That already set the flag off for me. I'm like, renewable electricity? Okay. Yeah. The electricity is used to split water into hydrogen gas and oxygen gas, so we get green hydrogen. Okay, so far so good. But fuel requires carbon too, so the company needs carbon dioxide to get that element. For Project Sense, specifically, we're looking at on-site direct air capture or direct ocean capture technologies to get their carbon. But more generally,
AKA turtle tears.
What?
Right? Nothing but turtle tears. Just, you gotta verbally abuse sea turtles until they cry. Like what? It's renewable. As long as they don't get dehydrated.
A lot of carbon in those tears. But more generally, he adds, we capture carbon dioxide from a variety of sources. Turtles could be one of those. Currently, their source is CO2. That was a byproduct of biofuel production. You can actually make jet fuel with our process. It burns cleaner as well, so it has fewer contrails, he says. It will still emit carbon when burned, though. So that I cut out a whole lot of stuff because it goes into how they pull this carbon off and then they put it in this device, which is a bunch of tubes, and they kind of siphon the carbon away. And I was like, okay, I trust you. I trust them that they can figure it out. Right? For our audience, just know that they're going to get carbon locally. The project involves a few government entities, including the Air Force and the Defense Innovation Unit. Never heard of them. DIU, the Defense Innovation Unit, which acts as a kind of bridge between the military and the commercial sector. So where will they start cooking up this new fuel? Well, Jack Ryan, a project manager for the DIU, Defense Innovation Unit, said, we plan to pair this technology with the other renewable energy projects at several joint bases, which include solar, geothermal, and nuclear. While we can't share exact locations yet, this project will initially be based in the continental U.S., and then over time, here's the kicker. Then over time, we expect the decreasing size of the machinery will allow for the system to be modularized and then used in operational settings. So they expect the machinery to decrease in size. When?
Well, they haven't even made the machinery yet.
They haven't even made it yet. Right. No. So this it may the article kind of what I got out of it is it's still kind of conceptual. All right. Or maybe 20% conceptual. Maybe they haven't ironed out all the bugs, but they ironed out enough to get 65 mil from the government.
Yeah.
Nikita Palenko, a program lead at the International Council on Clean Transportation, says that he is excited about the news. It's also likely something that's still quite a ways away, he adds. Air Company is still in the very, very initial stages of commercialization. So that sounds more theoretical now still.
Yeah, that sounds like we can do this.
Look, it shows it on paper.
How are you going to do it? Well, first I got to hire a bunch of people. And then I've got to find smart people. You know, I'm like, well,
once we do that.
But we've all heard of many government contractors making money by failing.
Well, yeah, sure.
Right? Sure. Like, this sounds amazing. This would be cool.
Just look at look at all the development, that one article that had all the rejected airplane designs.
Oh yeah.
You know, these companies built a whole plane. You know, like, look at this. And they're like, no, thank you.
And,
I'm like,
and they didn't build it out of pocket either.
No. That was
expensive. They got money to fail once again. I mean, which is cool. You get a lot of good innovation by doing that.
Right.
True.
But you get a lot
But
left on the scrap heap. Oh, scrap heap also.
that's the thing. And then you get a lot of companies that are like, hey, as long as we propose this, we'll get money and we show a little bit of progress, we're good.
Or you get those situations where, hey, this company's really good at developing this one aspect. This company's
Yeah.
really good at developing this other aspect. Like, okay, we're going to award you, but hey, we want to buy your design. So money to be made. These types of
Yeah.
fuels, called e-fuels for electrofuels, don't come in large amounts nor cheaply. I expect that the economics and the availability are going to be big constraints. Just based off the underlying costs of green hydrogen and CO2, you're probably going to end up with something much more expensive than conventional fuel, and it will be in smaller quantities to begin with, providing resiliency to existing fuel supplies and base microgrids. And then we'll grow from there.
Yeah.
65 mil for that proposal.
I mean, that'd be awesome. It'd be cool.
The concept is awesome. I mean, imagine if you're in a deployed location, you're like, okay, set up the CO2 screamer and the hydro fuel thing, and we can do it all and make our own fuel. No?
Yeah.
I wish they had kind of gone into talking about, have we fueled up a jet with an electro fuel and it runs just fine? Or does the engine have to be modified? Or, everything else that's going to come along with that. But pretty cool tech. If they can get there. But what I got out of the article is it has to use renewable energy, which has not been perfected, not producing as much to start, and what you are producing is going to be super expensive, and hoping the equipment shrinks so that it can be done in theater. ...
Yeah.
It's good enough for me. 65 mil.
I mean, it's a cool idea. It's an awesome theory. But 65, just going, all right, 65 mil sounds good.
Yeah, that's not even in the billions. Yeah, we can.
Yeah, I mean,
we can shave that off. Yeah.
I mean, unfortunately, we've had that discussion before about the Defense Department never passing an audit.
No,
we were talking about that article.
Right.
They can't even get back. Like, they didn't even dive into the super classified stuff.
Yeah.
They were just trying to audit the sheer number of people, the facilities, and the resources at those facilities, like aircraft and things like that. They never even got that far.
Now, interesting
before
thought.
They failed.
Right. Interesting thought, because both of us have been through inspections, right? And where you just had to have your records had to be spot on. You couldn't have any. Usually, the inspector, if you had something amiss in there, they would usually find it. They're good. Military is very efficient that way. So, two things can happen, right? If you look and you go, "Hey, Defense Department never passes an audit," so you go, "Okay, where did they make a lot of mistakes and they just kind of effed it up?" And I was like, "No way." Or did they make a lot of mistakes to muddy the waters, or what was it, right? Or as a poor bastard who's trying to account for it is like, "Oh, hey, I left you a sticky. We moved 100 mil over to this other project." He's like, "What?"
Yeah. Well, you know what? We can barely keep track of printers, right? We've all gotten that angry email of those poor calm accountability guys.
Yeah.
They're going around crawling underneath everybody's desk going, "This serial number doesn't even match. We don't even have this serial number."
And all it was doing was just sitting
like,
there on the floor. It's like, what happened to your inventory?
I've been using this computer for 4 years. I don't know what to tell you, man. What the heck? Where'd the printer go that was right here?
Oh, that's in the other building. We moved it.
Yeah. They moved it over to this other room over here. You guys didn't tell me.
Oh, I know. That's a good point. That's true.
Was your name on it?
I love when they put their name on it. It's like, this printer belongs to the training shop, and it's in the eval shop, and they're like, "Ha ha."
Yeah, exactly. We have all used a 3-hole punch or a stapler that was like property of.
Yeah, that's a prized possession,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, exactly.
When it's not on the desk, it's supposed to be. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, that'll be cool for the future. I'm glad they're thinking of that stuff. I'm not, I'm not a big green guy because I still think we're just decades away from that.
Yeah.
But at least they did mention nuclear. I don't know how they're going to tap into nuclear. I don't know what bases are nuclear right now.
That would be cool though.
Do we
And-
have any Air Force bases that are nuclear powered?
Oh, I have no idea.
I don't either.
Yeah.
I would.
We got a couple of subs and a couple of
I know. We just tap into
Navy's
them,
doing
right?
good at it. Yeah.
Well, until they do their study and they're like, "Oh, nuclear causes cancer," and you're like, "Oh,
Yeah.
who would have thought?"
Why do all these guys have third nips? I don't know. Mystery. It's a mystery that will never be solved.
I don't know. Was that in your record? No, too bad.
Nope.
Well, that
Shoulda
leads us
claimed
into our second story. And this second story is from AP News, so this is serious. Higher cancer rates have been found in military pilots and ground crews. All right, I want you to listen up, Jake. You weren't a ground crew though. You were just you breathed in all the same stuff, so you're right in there, right?
I was a ground crew guy. We were loading bombs on planes that were
idling.
Yeah.
Nice.
Not really idling, but just they had the auxiliary power unit. We use that auxiliary power unit as a heater a lot of times.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Is that the thing you were telling me about that you could crawl into?
No. It's like it's a smaller engine on a plane that is used to fire up the regular engines.
Oh, really?
So you fire up the APU and then it gives you all the electronics and everything like that. And then
it's a running engine, right?
It is basically a running engine. Yeah.
Okay. So you probably got some of those carcinogens in you.
Oh, guaranteed. Yeah. The amount of stuff. We've already 9 anthrax shots and freaking.
That's right.
We were cleaning some of the weapons racks and the triple ejection units but they had those powdered charges.
Yeah.
That would force a piston down it and would push the bomb off, right?
Okay.
Well, as soon as you fire off that percussion charge, it looked like a silver shotgun shell.
All right.
That you'd put in there and you'd tighten it down but you'd have to clean all that stuff out. And so we would literally just yank all that stuff out and we're cleaning out all these pistons and pipes and tubes and little chamber areas. And
Jesus.
It couldn't have been clean. Well,
it does mention solvents in here. So.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. A Pentagon study has found high rates of cancer among military pilots and for the first time has shown that ground crews who fuel, maintain, and launch those aircraft are also getting sick. The data had long been sought by retired military aviators who have raised alarms for years about the number of air and ground crew members they knew who had cancer. They were told that earlier military studies had found they were not at greater risk than the general U.S. population. Well,
but Marty, that's saying from the insurance company, hey, do you guys want to pay for this?
Right.
No?
Right.
Okay, fine. We believe you. It doesn't cause cancer.
Yeah. Neither do cigarettes.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Why are you going to ask Congress to investigate Congress? Right? It's the same thing.
Well, you're right. But
you guys find anything? Nope.
No. Surprisingly, no.
We're good.
Okay, you want to vote on that term limits bill? No, not yet.
Nah. Got a really important I don't know. What do we got coming up next, man? I don't know.
We need to keep the government going, so we need continuity.
Yeah, there you go.
Too much big word. Well, it does mention that later. So let's see. Well, I read it now. This study was required by Congress in the 2021 defense bill. Now, because higher rates were found, the Pentagon must conduct an even bigger review to try to understand why the crews are getting sick. But we'll get to that in a second. In its year-long study of almost 900,000 service members who flew on or worked on military aircraft, now get this, between 1992 and 2017. Why only 1992? Well, it'll tell you here in a second. The Pentagon found that air crew members had an 87% higher rate of melanoma and a 39% higher rate of thyroid cancer. Men had a 16% higher rate of prostate cancer, and women a 16% higher rate of breast cancer. Overall, the air crews had a 24% higher rate of cancer of all types. Holy shit. That's a lot. And that's only back to 1992, which is what I have the biggest issue with. And we'll get to that. The study showed ground crews had a 19% higher rate of brain and nervous system cancers, a 15% higher rate of thyroid cancer, and a 9% higher rate of kidney or renal cancers.
Well, that's why I'm fat. That's the reason the thyroid can't.
It's shutting down on you, baby.
Yeah, calling it quits.
While women had a 7% higher rate of breast cancer, the overall rate for cancers of all types was 3% higher, and that's for ground crews. The data compared the service members with the general U.S. population after adjusting for age, sex, and race. The study was required by Congress in the 2021 defense bill, but now, because higher rates were found, the Pentagon must conduct an even bigger review to try to understand why the crews are getting sick. So they haven't even done the why part. They just went out and got numbers. Aviation crews have long asked for the Pentagon to look closely at some of the environmental factors they are exposed to, such as jet fuels and solvents used to clean and maintain jet parts, sensors, and their power sources in aircraft nose cones and the massive radar systems on the decks of the ships they land on. So as they're coming in for landing, they're getting microwaved.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We had that incident where one of our guys was like, "Man, it's so hot," and I'm like, "What are you talking about?" It was in Alaska in the wintertime.
Yeah.
He's like, "Man, it's hot," and I was like, talking to my one. It was a loner two-man, right? Like anytime you broke up a three-man crew, we would fill it with other people from that other cruise.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And we had a loner, a guy that was on loan, and he's like, "Man, it's hot." And I'm like, "Dude, I think he's got freaking hypothermia or something. He's freaking starting to strip down here." And I don't know what it was, but he's like, "Hey, this freaking Pave Penny pod is on." And we're like, "No,
shit.
It's not. We've pulled the pod," and I don't know whether it caused anything or whatever, but we sent him to the clinic immediately after that.
And that's a radar, right?
It was a bad fuse. Yeah, it was kind of a radar thing. It was a bad fuse. Like, so the fuse in the cockpit looked like it was pulled, but on the inside had broken and stayed in.
Oh shit! So it was on.
So it was still on, and we were running the power unit. We were firing everything up to test the weapons racks. And he's like, "Man, it's hot," and I'm like, "No, it's not, man."
He was getting it radiated.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Jesus.
Yeah, we're like, "You need to go to the clinic, like right now."
Shit.
Did you? And the clinic was like, "Did you cool down?" "Yeah." "All right, here's some Motrin."
Here's some Motrin.
Put an ice pack on it. Call it a day.
Motrin and hydrocortisone, man. That was the clinic's best handouts.
There's still all those memes about it, right? Like anything, military doctor, anything you're allergic to, and the military guy's like, "Motrin." The military doctor's like crying. The picture's like, "Oh no, what am I gonna do?"
You're in big trouble, baby.
Yeah.
I remember I was on we were on TDY trying to train up to go to Desert Storm, and we were playing football, and I blew my knee out bad, right? And it was so bad that, usually when you get hurt like that, you go have a beer or two and you're like, okay, I guess I can walk on it. But it was bad.
Yeah.
So I went over there, and the deployed medics, I was like, dude, I blew my knee out. And he's like, all right, how many Motrin you want? And they were the big, like 800 milligram ones, the big orange ones.
Yeah.
He gave me this baggie.
I still have a big old bottle in my medicine cabinet. Yeah, man.
Don't worry about your liver. Just keep taking that Motrin, baby.
Yeah.
It's nuts. And he filled that little baggie with a big, like clear hefty bag, just full of 800 milligram Motrin. I don't know how we got along without it, in wars past, but that's the painkiller of choice. Now here's the disturbing part. The Pentagon acknowledged that the study had gaps that likely led to an undercount of cancer cases. Here it is. The military health system database used in the study did not have reliable cancer data until 1990. How does that happen? 1990.
Cancer wasn't a big deal back then.
So it may not have included pilots who flew early generation jets in the prior decades. The study also did not include cancer data from the Department of Veterans Affairs or state cancer registries, which means it did not capture cases from former crew members who got sick after leaving the military medical system. Hell yeah, they undercounted those numbers.
Yeah.
They undercounted those numbers and still got all those higher rates.
Yeah. What's weird is like melanoma, right? Which is a skin cancer from sun.
Yeah.
And it was for air crews. You're like, flight crews, like those guys are inside that airframe. The flight crew is inside the airframe. They're no more exposed than any other person.
Yeah. How are they all of a sudden more susceptible?
How are they 20% higher at melanoma? That's
part of this article. I cut out, but part of this article was talking to the wife of like a Navy captain who flew for decades, and she was saying how he would bring his A bag back or whatever from being on mission and throw it in the closet, and it just smelled like fuel.
Oh yeah.
And they had pilots who were like, I think it was mostly Navy pilots. And they're like, yeah, you could drink the water. It tasted like fuel. And I was like, what is going on with the fuel containment system? It's getting into everything.
So, hey, Marty, I got the CDC like numbers here for cancer stats.
Yeah. Yeah.
In 2019, which is the last year it's available, for every 100,000 people, 439 new cancer patients were reported, and 146 people died of cancer.
Jeez.
So
for every 100,000?
For every 100,000.
Yeah.
So if the military is 24% higher, that's basically, I don't know, quick ridiculous public math, 470 then new cases for the military, and 170 people died of cancer from the military. And that's just adding ridiculous, like
when they're comparing it to 20%. The general populace. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Says the second phase of the study will try to isolate causes. Oh, good. The 2021 bill requires the Defense Department not only to identify the carcinogenic toxicants or hazardous materials associated with military flight operations, but also determine the type of aircraft and locations where diagnosed crews served. So,
okay,
it's amazing that they commissioned this survey, and basically all they did was go out and get numbers, but they didn't get them from the VA. They didn't get them before 1990. I mean, hell, you could do the study in a weekend, couldn't you? You didn't really have to dig for anything. It's just right there. They're like, oh, we only have to go back to 1990. Oh, that's easy. We'll have it to you by Friday. So, and then, all the undercount stuff. I mean, the whole fact that they didn't count people who got cancer after they left. So I assume these are just people who got cancer while they were in,
or under the. Did they not
under the care? Right, under the care. Yeah. But you got a subsequent exit the military and then subsequent cancer diagnosis, and I guess they're saying they didn't count those numbers. Holy shit, that's undercounted. Those percentages should be higher. Oh, that's terrible news, man. That's terrible news. But at least they're looking at it now.
Yeah.
I had no idea that cancer rate among flyers, right? So, like we talked about, hey, I look up every time I see the jet, and now I go, oh, I wonder when they're going to get cancer.
Poor guy.
Poor guys.
I wonder, like, there was a while ago that I read an article about people who are frequent flyers, like on commercial planes, were getting cancer more often than non-frequent flyers.
No way.
Yeah, really? It was weird. I'll have to look it up and send it to you again, but it was something about that.
Where's the one part of this article? Oh, there was some good news reported. Both ground and air crews had far lower rates of lung cancer, and air crews also had lower rates of bladder and colon cancers.
Oh,
so good for you. You guys are good.
Yeah.
Which lung cancer, which is, you would think that would be at the top of the list, right? I mean, breathing exhaust in. Solvents or everything else, right? But that's what they said. Lower rates. So, all right. So that's the bad news story.
Okay.
Okay. Here's the maybe good news. Good news for one sex, at least, anyway.
Yeah.
So from military.com, female Air Force pilots would be able to safely pee in flight during long missions with this new technology being tested.
Nice.
Which, as we read through this, just keep in your back of your mind is like, we just thought about doing this. It's just
exactly.
I mean, anybody who's been on a long road trip,
we've got to be female Blue Angel pilots. We've got female, the commander of the Thunderbirds was a freaking
that's right,
all that stuff, like that A-10 pilots, like the fact that we're just now like, hey, maybe this is a problem we need to solve. Like,
it's ridiculous.
What are they doing? Like, are they pretending they're the lady from NASA driving across all the states or something?
I don't know. That crazy woman. God, I forgot about her.
Remember? She was
peeing in jars and stuff, wasn't she?
She was depensing it up.
Oh no, she had.
Yeah.
Did she have a catheter in, or was she diapers?
No, she was adult diaper. The word on the street was adult diaper, and she was like,
all about that story.
This guy's cheating on me. I'm gonna get him. She drove to from Florida to freaking, I don't know, Wyoming or some crap like that, like Texas.
Straight,
in one run.
Right.
One run, just straight.
Just peeing in the
seat. Nothing but meth and pissing of the pants or whatever. What do they get? The Adderall. Nothing but legal meth.
Adderall, yeah.
Adderall, sorry. Yeah, legal meth, Adderall.
Oh my God.
Pee in your pants, just.
Well, she could have been a good input into this new technology here. So.
Yeah, we should get an interview with her. I'm sure she'll come on.
Isn't she in prison? Is she going to jail?
So literally, she's a captive audience, Marty.
She's just waiting like Hannibal Lecter, man, just waiting to tell her story. Just somebody come and ask her.
Commissary, and we're good.
If you don't mind interviewing her in a diaper, then have at it.
Yeah, we get there, we're like, hey, we're just like you. We drop trow with our fancy gray Depends that look like man panties now. You're like, oh, this is the
Yeah.
new design. Can you
Look at
believe how
this.
far we've come?
And you are the innovator.
Look what you did. You're great.
You and your crazy ass.
She keyed the shit out of his car or something.
Then drove back.
That got him so good.
Oh my God. All right. Pilots at an Air Force base in North Carolina are the first one to try out a new system that would make it easier for female aviators to urinate during long flights. A long-standing issue for women in the service has been not having a practical or safe way to relieve themselves, often having to rely on dehydration, diapers, or simply holding their urine during training or a mission. Holding in urine for extended periods of time can lead to a variety of health complications, ranging from headaches, infections, and an overall weakening of the bladder muscles. The 4th Fighter Wing said in a press release, holding it in can cause fatal errors and health issues, such as lowering the aircrew's ability to withstand high G forces by 50%, and increases headaches. Well, that's interesting that it would lower their G forces, but could you imagine that G suit? And you're just like, I got beat.
Yeah, exactly. Like it'll lower the G forces because you're concentrating on getting your bladder crushed and not trying to pee your pants. Like, that's sensitive electronics in there. You don't want to be hosing water everywhere. Come on, man. It's a scientific term, Marty.
Gotta have the inside wipers.
Yeah, you can't argue with science.
But female pilots at Seymour Johnson Air Force Base in Goldsboro, North Carolina, are ground testing a new bladder relief method. The system, called ARIS, AIRUS, ARIS, by Arian Health. Again, these names are Arian Health. We'll call it ARIS. It's almost our name. Was awarded a prototype contract by the Air Force last year. It uses a cup liner. This is beautiful language. It uses a cup liner that is docked to the body and worn under the pilot's underwear. A pumping system then pulls the liquid away from the flight suit and doesn't require pilots to remove their harness. Docked. Prior bladder relief equipment was designed with male physiology in mind. As women began entering aviation and combat roles, the technology needed to be modified. Therefore, started soliciting contracts and ideas on how to improve their systems in 2020.
The guys use what is commonly referred to as a piddle pack. It's either like those condom catheters where it just kind of slides over
on the outside,
or on the outside, or it's like a bag that you kind of just smush your jennies into and let it go. That's science again. Jennies.
I'm glad you're here to explain these technical terms.
Yeah. I'm looking at a graph here. I'll send you the graph. Interesting. It's literally like pre-positioned in boxer briefs kind of thing. And you're like, okay, just in case, this is what I'm going to do. I would think, though, also, can you imagine how uncomfortable something like this would be for female pilots? Like,
absolutely. All right.
The docking situation.
So you got a cup down there, right? Or
basically, yeah. I mean, we discussed the Shiwi last time.
The Shiwi.
Basically, yeah, it's very nice, classy thing. I'm sure it works like a champ.
My wife says it sprays all over the place. So,
I like how she's blaming it on that and taking accountability. I mean, I'm not pointing fingers, but we do have a man in the field right now who is field testing numerous of these options.
Yeah, and we'll see how that that docking
Yeah.
situation works for Eric when he gets back.
Mostly from lounge chairs on the beach, but you know,
Says he hasn't gotten up from the beach in a day and a half.
yeah, he's looking like that lady, the neighbor from Something About Mary right now, just pruned up.
Just,
Pruned up.
just, just shiwi
Yeah.
bags stacked up next to his
Yeah.
lounge chair.
Just a pile of them, like a beautiful glistening pyramid. Oh. Yelling at his poor wife, "Woman, more lotion." Here, you treat that woman with more respect than that. Jeez. Yeah.
Yes, we look forward to that report.
Yeah, I'm excited about it.
It is interesting because they say one of the popular current methods used by pilots. Now, I assume this is in the cockpit. All right. One of the popular current methods used by pilots requires them to unstrap from the harness and gear, which can take nearly an hour, to urinate into a bag collection system. Maybe that's that piddle pack. I don't know.
Yeah.
According to the press release, and can be unsafe in the case of a sudden in-flight emergency. In 1992, an American F-16 crashed after the fighter pilot was forced to eject when he lost control of the aircraft while trying to take a piss. I mean, I have, of course, on long road trips, balanced that Gatorade bottle.
Oh,
Right?
the Gatorade, man, they have the good wide mouth.
That's right. But you still got to elevate a little bit off the seat, or at least I do. Maybe longer men don't have to. But you still got to elevate a little bit.
Relieving pressure off the old prostate
Yes.
for you right there.
Yeah. And it's a tenuous drive. That 2 miles of road is pretty scary, right? Well, I can only imagine that
texting is dangerous.
No, try taking a piss in the middle of the night.
I've never seen a government sign saying, "Please don't pee in a Gatorade bottle for your own safety. Your family cares."
Zip it up, keep us safe.
Just pull over.
Now I can imagine that poor son of a bitch in the F-16 trying to get a little elevation out of that fighter seat. Oh, god damn. That sticks is right there in the way. Can't balance the Gatorade bottle against that. Yeah. Oh my god. So well, help us on
the Gatorade bottle
against the stick. It's like, control, hold on a second.
and you know for a fact we have zero of these details correct.
No,
right? Like, there's nothing right here.
I don't know. I'm sure we're probably about 45
minutes. Other than peeing pants is correct.
Well, help is on the way, ladies. Help is on the way. So that's good, bad, good in aviation this week.
There you go.
I feel better about our flying forces.
Yeah, score one for the old matriarchy. We're good.
Anything left? We got anything left? Should we close it out?
Yeah, man, let's call it a day.
End up.
You were waiting for it.
I almost forgot it.
I was hoping you would.
Eric, I hope that brings a smile to your face. On behalf of Jake and I'd like to thank you for listening today. Please like, share, subscribe, and let us know how we did in the comments. And as always, make sure to download the next episode for more service headline news.
Just a little shout out for Eric. Hey, just for future reference, send the chafing pictures just to Marty. He's the leader of this whole group. I don't need any of that stuff.
Wait till I start the website. Those are going up.
And you can't unsee things.
No.
Let me tell you.
Well, Eric's out there in his sweater with the shiwi, and we hope to have his report soon.
I'm looking forward to it.
Get by safe, Eric, and all those listening. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.